Hi, I wanted to jump on here really quick and just share a story that changed my life about 20 years ago when I was going through the worst Christmas that I can ever remember experiencing. And it was because I was going through a divorce at the time and I was pregnant with my oldest daughter. And it was just the most devastating, heartbreaking time for me. But it was also a time where I was just beginning to kind of wake up to the realization that I didn't know what I was doing. And yet I was still felt like I was in this struggle within my soul over letting go truly of my old life to step into what I feel like what I understood at that time was God calling me to live a whole different life, and a life where I wasn't the boss, where He was literally the Lord, and releasing all of this that I had been through up to that point to His hands instead of keeping them in my own, which I felt like I'd made a mess of everything up to that point. And there was a time, this is back before social media, 2001, and so we would, back then in the olden days, people would send emails to each other. That's kind of how we communicated. And somehow or other, someone sent me this story, and this is the story I want to share with you, who maybe like me, you're going through a really hard time, or maybe God's bringing you to some realization that of something that maybe perhaps it's time to let go of, to go on to higher ground with Him. And this is the story, and I still think about it so often. It just really touched my heart. And it was the story of a little girl who had been out with her mom at the store, and seen a strand of pearls that she really, really wanted, and asked her mother, and her mother told her, "No, I am not going to buy those for you, but you can do chores and earn money, and you could take that money and you can buy them yourself." And so the little girl took the challenge, and she did all these chores and earned all this money, and went to the store and got that necklace, and she loved it, not only because she had adored that necklace, but also because she had earned it. And so she wore them all the time. She never took them off. But something challenged her heart, and that was when her dad would walk into her room at night and say, "Honey, I love you. Can you give me those pearls?" And she'd say, "No, Dad, I love these pearls. I love you, but you can't have them because I really love these pearls." And so night after night that happened, until finally one night she was ready, and she, tears streaming down her face, held out the pearls and said, "Dad, I love you. You can have my pearls." And as soon as she gave those pearls to him, he pulled a string of real pearls out of his pocket and said, "Darling, I've been waiting for you to give me the fake ones so I can give you what's real." And he knew the worth of his daughter, and he knew that she was worth of having real pearls and not fake ones around her neck. And I still remember the first time I read that story, and it just hit my heart, because in my heart what God was saying was, "Rhonda, I see what you've done. You've earned this whole life, and it's yours, and you have ownership of it, and you don't want to let go." Because for me, that's the divorce itself was heartbreaking, because I had invested everything into this relationship, including my finances, my social life, everything. I mean, everything a person can invest, I had invested it all. I mean, even my retirement, everything was going to be flushed down the toilet and go down the tubes, which had already happened no matter what. But God was saying, "Can you trust me with the rest of your story? Can you, stop this that you've invested in? Can you invest all of who you are and all of who you will be into me instead?" And I knew what that meant. And this was hard for me, because at that moment I was still in the back of my mind, in the back of my heart, praying that there was by some miracle, even by God, through God, that He was going to let my marriage work out. That He was going to let this person, this person in this relationship I had invested everything into, somehow work out and save the day. But He wasn't telling me that that was going to happen. He was telling me that He was asking me to give Him my life and trust that He knew what was best for me, which meant that I didn't have control anymore. And that was terrifying to me. But when I read the story, I understood what he was saying. What he was saying is, Rhonda, I want to give you what's real. And what you've been building your life upon, and you and trusting your own understanding and leaning on what you think is fulfilling for you is not real. I am what's real. And when I'm so glad that I said yes to him, because as I came to know Jesus more, at that time I didn't know anything. I didn't know one thing about the Bible. I didn't even know where to go to church or where to start. But he began taking me by the hand and leading me and guiding me step by step. And the difference between Jesus and between even the relationships we have with each other and with church or with any other God is that he's real. And he comes in and he's real. He becomes more real than anything than we can experience here on this earth. Any other relationship, so that all the other relationships I have now are not only based in reality, but they're based in truth, the truth of him. It's almost like he's taken me by the hand and introduced me to people that I can be safe with, that I can be vulnerable with. He's put people in my life to challenge me, yet there's also people in my life to love me and to shape and mold me, even as I'm being shaped and molded to others. And so I just want to share that with you, that this year, if it's your hardest, know that he's real and he loves you and he wants to meet you. And I wanted to share that very next Christmas, the Christmas after this was that had been my very hardest Christmas, where I was pregnant, going through divorce, and alone. Um, I spent with who is now my husband. At that time, we were just really good friends. But it was just a year later. If I could have only seen what God was going to do, and here we are now, 20 years later, still together, still celebrating Christmases together. And God had such a good plan for me that had I tried to keep going my own way, I would have never been able to step into an experience. So I just pray that this little testimony blesses somebody. I encourage you, if you have a testimony, or sometimes it's hard to put yourself out there, but our God gives us these experiences so we can share them with others, and it's through our sharing of who He's been to us that other people come to know and trust that He can do the same for them, and that causes us to know each other and know Him even more, which is always a blessing. So I just pray blessings over you this Christmas. I thank you for letting me share this part of my life with you. God bless you, and Merry Christmas.